It's an absolute pleasure to be joined at Grizzle HQ with none other than Shane Williams, CEO of West Red Lake.
Great to be here.
We just had the best ramen in the city, and now we're drinking Red Press. I'm like, I gotta find a nice, fine Irish whiskey. Shane, a pleasure just to cut it up, chat. Let's talk mining. Let's talk the focus of mining. Shane, you've built mines, you've history in the mining industry, successes. Talk to us about the early days and how, what drew you to the industry?
Yeah, so again, I didn't really start in mining. Mining is kind of addictive. Once you get into it, you just can't get out of it. So I didn't really start in mining, but I started my career, I'm an engineer by background, and I started getting involved I worked in oil and gas in the Middle East for a long time as well. So I liked projects, I liked building, I liked doing stuff. And, we lived there for a while. Our son was born in Saudi Arabia. We've lived all over the world. It's been fantastic. But when I came back, I really got into the whole mining thing. I love the opportunity to build something from nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you get mining and there's nothing there. There's grass, there's a hill, there's a mountain. Yeah. And you turn that into a mine, and that's really fascinated me because you have to use people, you have to work with people, you have to work with teams, engineering, you have to do the technical, you have to do a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of into it to build a mine. And that's just, a lot of people, young people today, they don't like mining, but I'm telling you, it's a fantastic career.
But they don't know mining.
They don't know mining.
Right?
They don't know the real mining. They hear a lot of the media, they hear a lot of things about mining, but when you've been in mining and you go from the soup to the nuts of everything through mining, it's so diverse. It's so amazing.
And we were talking about, just the importance of mining, obviously at a society level where we've almost we don't even think about, right? We were talking earlier, this technology, the revolution, but no one questions where all these materials are coming from, right? It's almost like we've just, partitioned our brains to say, that we don't think about where this comes from. But the part that really was interesting is just that community empowerment that we were talking about, and not a lot of people really understand how important that is, to mining communities, especially in emerging countries. Mining is the lifeblood of economic wealth that can transform an entire community.
Forget that, really. Young people today are very socially conscious. They want to help the world, but mining is the perfect opportunity. I've been involved in building mines in remote communities where there was nothing there. But the mining companies take the view that they're building in these communities, they're supporting these communities. We have outreach programs, we're working with the locals, they're employed in the mine. In a place in Turkey I worked, we created a whole vegetable garden, market gardens using the water from the mine. Everybody worked there, they supported them. So there's a whole community around mining, and I don't think people have a bad name of mining, but mining has some of the strictest regulations in the world. In Canada in particular, you have EA processes, environmental assessment processes, you have permitting, you have structure, you have government regulations. Mining in Canada is one of the best in the world, in my opinion. And we should be promoting mining in Canada rather than other countries. And we've so much resources in this country.
Yeah, well, really good point on how rich we are endowed with resources. Yet when I look at where we sit right now, particularly geopolitically, China, when you think of all the raw materials and where they sit, Russia, this should be the era where Canada shines relative to China's and Russia's and all these. We have an opportunity to really step in and fill that gap.
Well, at the moment, what's going on is the race to critical metals. Everyone's talking about critical metals. And China is pushing for critical metals in the world, around the world, Africa, different countries. And, we're very slow to respond to that. We're very slow in Canada and the US, but we're starting to. Yes. But it's slow. It's a very slow pace. And Canada is very endowed from a mineral wealth. It has, so much mineral wealth that we could be a leader in that. And we're playing catch up. And that's a big problem for Canadians. It's a big problem for everybody, and we should be doing it more here.
That aspect of doing more and we have, like, the supply chains need to be fixed right now. Like, you know, we need to get to localized supply chains where you don't get disruptions and, you know, from well to wheel, right? So to speak, right? This is the opportunity for Canada as a nation to fill that gap. And I think at a very high level, when you think about the industry, right, and where we can grow, how do we attract young talent?
Well, look, that's the most important part at the moment. I believe in the mining game. Everyone talks about the amount of metals we need, the amount of metals, the copper, the lithiums of this world. And there's a lot of money in the world, as you well know from your area. There's billions and billions of dollars in the world, and everybody wants to get into metals. What's missing for me is the people. You need people to build these mines, work in an industry and everything. There's a big gap there. I mean, and nobody's talking about the gap. Yeah. We're talking about the lack of projects, the lack of opportunity, and we're talking about money will eventually. Look, where is the demand? Supply and demand will tell you. Money will come in eventually. Price.
You know, and you told me a young kid out of college making $180,000. Like this, you know, we're in a world where young kids are like, I can't buy a house. You know, it's over. But a kid can get into mining, make $180,000 and do really freaking well. But the other part is really see the world.
And see the world. Look, I've lived all over the world. My kids have lived all over the world. My wife has lived all over the world. I lived in Sweden. I lived in northern Sweden. We did sauna every time.
Well, that's right. We're Grizzle HQ is very. We have the sauna, but we have a sauna connoisseur here as well, because mining introduced you to this Swedish culture of sauna.
Sweden, building mines, and we got into the Swedish culture, the sauna.
And you just threw your kids into school and they picked up Swedish.
We went up there, no English, we just threw the kids into school, and after about 3 months the teacher said, oh, your kids are speaking Swedish. So that's the sort of opportunity you get with mining. That there's very few industries in the world, I would say, you get those sort of opportunities. I lived in Greece as well. So you've gone from northern Sweden, where it's cold, dark, miserable, to Greece.
You're saunaing all the time just to escape the coldness.
You lived in Greece. We lived in Athens, center of the world, building mines. You know, you're in the islands. You're in. You know, it's amazing what the world can do to you and give you them opportunities. And I don't know if young people know that today we, as an industry, as you well know, we do a very bad job at marketing the industry. You know, we do a really bad job of everybody. I talk to my kids, I say mining, they say, no way. You know what I mean? As you do.
Yeah.
And there's so much opportunity coming down the road for mining.
Well, you know, and I really think that just what you've just highlighted there is just so, it's an opportunity to see the world do well economically, you know, and just really contribute in a meaningful way, right? And that, so when I think about, okay, like, what does it take to succeed? I think that's the next part of the question, right? You know, you've had a very successful career. What was the formula for you to be a great mine builder? And that's what you're known as, the fixer. You come in, you see a problem, like what? Obviously, the engineering, like there's an aspect of your brain that's tuned in to, like, you know, I need to, you know, I see a solution for every problem. That's what you like as a mine builder, right?
Yeah, but I think it comes back to, as everybody, when I was young, I took the opportunities to go to these crazy lands and work. But I met some people who are now the old generation of mining, and the mentorship that I got. Today it's called mentorship. In those days it wasn't called mentorship, but you got, you know, but you learned from that, because. And it comes down to, unless you take those opportunities, you don't get them. Yeah. And so really that opportunity just to go with it. And I learned from very, very experienced people who are now, you know, in the twilights of their careers. But I learned those, and I moved country, and I took opportunities. And when somebody said, do you want to go here? I said, oh yeah, fine, why not? Yeah. You know, and we went and just traveled, and you just meet so many people, and you learn from A to B all the way through the process. And I've done everything in mining. I've drove trucks underground. I've done everything in mining, and you just learn over time, and it just comes over time. And so for that for me to learn all those stages and be prepared to take jobs, and somebody offers you a job, and you know, you say no, another job, and you have to cut in salary, but you get the opportunity to grow and grow and grow. And in this game in mining, it's very important that I don't know, you notice that as well. Young people, they want to be managers, directors, VPs straight away. But I've spent 25 years at the bottom, learning the way up, and I couldn't do what I'm doing now today. And that's what I say to young people. Learn, do the time, do the effort, take your time, learn your basis. You were just telling me you worked in TD for 17 years.
17 years. I'm like, you know what? Just I still get I still get boggled. I was there for 17 years. 17 years. But and so my early mentor at TD really told me something that really stuck with me. And I try to tell anyone that, so I'm an ambitious guy. I want to do everything. You want the sizzle before the steak, right? And he just said, just take your time to figure out where take your time to grow, right? And that's a huge thing.
That's a huge thing, and that's the same in mining. Mining is complex. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of opportunity, and there is opportunity, and that will come. You got to take your time, start at the bottom, work your way up, and slowly. And that's what I found. And I wouldn't be where I am today. And what I do find is, if you don't do that and you move quickly, I can go into a room with executives and people, and people know, they have the respect because they know I've done this stuff. But if you're there and you've moved up quickly, people can smell it off you. You just know it straight away.
Totally. And that I think that's...
If you go too far ahead of your skis, you get caught out.
Exactly. And that's something people don't appreciate. Is like, of course, and that's that instant gratification culture we're in right now. Just like, I want this all now, but you're just not there to have it all now. And, so now I really want to connect on the opportunity in front of you right now with West Red Lake. It's just so prolific, and just this is an important mine in Canada for gold, right? Talk to us about what's ahead of you. And I think, just to give the backdrop, we were talking earlier just about, how a gold miner is so well set up, particularly one that, in a certain market cap range. We're not talking the Newmonts, right? We're talking about the West Red Lake Golds, where you really have that opportunity to really crystallize a ton of value in a world that's printing money, and it's structurally set up for gold to be a great asset, but you want leverage to that asset.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, as you've noticed over the last number of years, is people love the leverage. We've had the cannabis, we've had Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We now have the uranium. The people flock to that leverage. They don't want the boring Newmonts. Nobody wants to be in the boring stocks anymore. The older guys, they like that. But the young and energetic, they want the leverage. They want that energy, Yes. Cannabis was like that. Bitcoin was like that many years ago. AI is like that now. Everybody's in AI. So, mining will be like that because there's a demand there. There's huge lack of supply. So you got to marry that leverage with the short for commodities, because otherwise it's hard to tell young people, okay, we're short commodities. They don't get it. Nobody knows what anything's made of anymore and everything. So it's not a case of, look, you need commodities. Thank you very much. Go into this stock. But it's the leverage. To me, it's the mirror of the leverage with the demand for commodities. And if you can put those together, that's where you get the great growth. And that's kind of like what we've done with West Red Lake. We've gone and found an asset, pennies on the dollar, put it together in a potentially rising gold market. Even if gold doesn't rise, we've bought it so cheap that we're going to grow over time. So that's kind of, for me, if gold rises at the same time, you get that leverage. So it's gold on speed.
Yeah,
that's what it's like.
And so you said one thing that really resonated with me with West Red Lake. You got two things, right? You got both the aspect of growing the value through the drill bit, which you're doing, and you're going to go into production.
Yeah.
And that's a unique mix that not a lot of people have.
Well, and my career has been all about building and building and growing and building companies. So I'm not an exploration guy. I can't do exploration. To me, you can't do exploration. So I needed to be involved in something that's growing and building and growing. So that's why I got involved in West Red Lake. It's near-term production. It's something that I can take on. I've done it before. It's a good growth story. I like to be able to build something and go, wow, this is in operation. This is what I've done. There's mines I can go and check today. You can check that I built that are in operation today. They ran for 10, 15 years. They're in operation today.
That's incredible.
Not only that, but I know the people that I brought in, they're running the mine now. And that gives you great satisfaction, you know, that you see that what you've created has grown, that they're running the mines and they've grown up to be the managers and everything. And that's great. Like, and mining gives you that, you know.
What an incredible, like, Shane, we're going to do ramen again. Next time we're going to get in the sauna. Shane, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, man. It was we did West Toronto. We did the ramen, chopping it up with Shane Williams, CEO of West Red Lake. Thank you so much, Shane.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Great to be.